Hi, I'm Johnny. This is Johnny Likes, the show where I talk about movies that I like. Today I'm talking about a decent comedy horror movie that I hope finds a following someday. It's Evolution meets The Last of Us. Today, Johnny Likes Cold Storage.
You tell him, Johnny! You tell the world!
Bioterrorism expert Liam Neeson gets called out to Western Australia to investigate a long-forgotten space probe that could be connected to why there are no people living in this town, where the space probe has been a local sideshow for the past 20-ish years. And it totally is the reason everyone's dead. In fact, it's directly responsible. But where are all the bodies? Oh shit, there they are. How do we miss that coming into town? So after a fellow scientist bites the dust, they contain the area, which I assume they bomb the hell out of it, and we fast forward to present-ish day, where we meet Keery, who's playing a fuck-up who works the night shift at a storage facility. He keeps hearing an annoying chirp.
Of constantly putting other people's priorities.
And he can't locate the source, so he brings in Georgina Campbell, who's going through her first day on the job. They drop any pretense of their work duties in order to locate the source of the chirp. It's a classic horror movie trope. Let's go investigate this strange noise. So after a while, they figure out that the noise is coming from behind a wall, and they gain access in an invasive and not so eloquent manner that I'm not going to spoil because it was pretty funny. And damn, there's something behind there. Let's go investigate that. It couldn't be connected to the space scoop that us, the audience, saw earlier in the movie, could it? Yeah, space scoop's out. Space scoop's wreaking havoc. And it's up to Keery, Campbell, and eventually Liam Neeson to save the world. This was directed by Johnny Campbell, who I'm not familiar with, but has a whole bunch of TV credits to his name, and this was a competently directed, fairly good-looking movie. It was based off the novel by David Koepp, who adapted this for the screen, and if Koepp's not a name familiar to you, just know that I'm sure you've seen something that he's written, directed, or both. And I was quite curious as to whether he wrote this before or after The Last of Us game came out, because it shares the same core fungal zombie idea. Turns out Last of Us was first. Now, whether or not Koepp was aware of the video game's plot, that's less clear. But the space scoop here is essentially the same thing as the cordyceps in the game. Takes over the host and makes them do violent, crazy things in the hopes of procreation or proliferation. They want to make more of themselves, that's what I'm saying here. Now we know who stars in the movie and what it's about. Is it any good, though? In short, yeah. To expand on that, yeah, but it could have been better. I had a couple little problems with it. The biggest one was the space scoop itself. I found its intelligence and motives to be just a little bit inconsistent. At least that's how I took it. It starts out wanting to get as high as possible before exploding out of its host like a gross puffer mushroom. But then it mutates and it doesn't seem to want to do that anymore. It can take control of stuff like deer and people, but it doesn't immediately try and seek out a water source or go high and explode anymore. It just kind of acts menacingly instead. It's not the biggest deal, but when you set up the rules for your own little world and they're inconsistent, it kind of bugs me. I also wasn't the biggest fan of when things were exploding, that they were leaving this green goop everywhere. Which, to be fair, makes perfect sense plot-wise because they are filled with this green fungus. But to me, it seemed more like a ploy to get a lower rating, to get a PG-13 instead of an R, and it didn't even work. It's an R. And I felt like it should have been a harder R. It should have been slimier and grosser. It felt like they pulled back a little bit when they should have been going full throttle. That was a couple little things I thought I'd point out. Keery was charming in a role that's not too far removed from his character on Stranger Things. I like him and was happy to see him. I want to see him in more stuff. Georgina Campbell was good as well as Keery's co-worker. They had good chemistry together, and it was fun watching them banter and bicker back and forth.
Like I was having an argument with my brain about it. Does that ever happen to you?
You are very chatty.
It can be a problem. I'm tea cake.
And it pains me to say this, but the real star in this was Liam Neeson. And it pains me to say this because I'm not really a fan of Neeson in general. I don't like him as an actor. Something about him just bugs me. Like, he's perfectly fine. I just don't like him, you know? But fair's fair, and he was excellent in this. He was really funny, and he was the reason that this went from a mediocre to a decent movie. It was like he was playing Frank Drebin from Naked Gun, but just pulling it back maybe 10% or so.
I'm not exactly on the clock anymore. You should probably take me off the file.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Up yours, asshole.
I'm still here, Robert.
I know.
His character's a straight-faced parody of the guy who no one believed and eventually turned out he was right all along kind of character. And I thought it was a fresh-ish take on a familiar melange of character traits. And I had a little bit of time kind of putting my finger on what the inspiration was and what it reminded me of. But what I came up with was, it was a combination of Tommy Lee Jones in both Men in Black.
We'll take it from here.
Who the hell are you?
INS Division 6.
And The Fugitive.
Yeah, the first engine uncoupled, rest of the train jumped the tracks.
About 100 yards, Sam?
Yeah.
Mixed with, like, Matthew Broderick in Godzilla.
Permit! Damn, how do you say permit? I have a permit!
Or Dennis Quaid in The Day After Tomorrow. So he's like a smart-mouth scientist that's firmly entrenched in the military-industrial complex and playing it completely deadpan. It was really interesting, anyway. I don't really have much more to say about this movie. It's a comedy with elements of horror that's on the lighter side. I guess that is, if you're a huge horror movie buff, this is on the lighter side. If you're not used to the gory stuff, this could be on the darker side for you. You gotta make that call, not me. It's not amazing, but it was a nice under-the-radar surprise. It just popped up on streaming after having like a day in the theater. I saw no promotion, no YouTubers talking about this until it had already been out for a while. If you liked Evolution...
The fly! There's a fly in my suit! Oh, God!
Take off your helmet!
Or Slither. Or wanted The Last of Us to be funnier, I'd recommend checking this out. It's a bit uneven, it's not the most original thing out there, and I don't think it went as hard as it could have with the splatter effects. Don't get me wrong, there is a good chunk of grossness in this movie. Despite my little critiques, I still had a fun time watching this. And I was thinking about it days later, which is always a good sign. And I'm going to give Cold Storage a 3.25 out of 5. Those are my thoughts on the movie. You can leave yours in the comments. Thanks for watching me talk about movies for a little while, and you can tune in next time to see what else Johnny likes.
Please like and subscribe.
It's quick.
It's free.
And,
Relatively painless.